And we are live. Nashville Live back on the air. January 8th, 2026. I'm your host, Lou Pickney. Streaming on Blaze tonight. Also have a simulcast on Twitch. I've got a relatively large following on there by overall standards. So there are people that will want to know when I'm live, but a lot of them aren't interested in the NFL. I have a large international audience on Twitch. And there are American viewers that have no interest in the NFL as well. I've got a wide group of people that listen to me. Quite nice. Glad to have you here as part of this. We're going to be talking about Miami's thrilling victory over Ole Miss. The college football playoff semifinal round. Miami wins 31-27 in an instant classic. 5 stars. Indiana versus Oregon has the marquee matchup of Fernando Mendoza against Dante Moore. But they're going to be hard-pressed to top what we saw tonight. So we're going to, at some point, delve into the world of... Now, why is my alarm over there going off? Stand by, please. Most inopportune. All better now. How to make sure that I wasn't forgetting over there. It was the alarm they had for this time slot at one point. Had some blockchain brawlers tournaments, so what's left over from that. No gameplay here with this broadcast. We're talking about tonight's college football action. Miami Hurricanes will be playing for the national championship. They didn't even make it to the ACC championship. They managed to get in. They play tremendously well. Carson Beck, what a great story. People thought he was down and out. He played through injury last year at Georgia, tried his best to. But I tell you what, Miami made it worth his while to stay in college, and he has made the most of that investment for the Hurricanes. At some point here, we'll delve into see what the world of Reddit has to say. See if this is kind of a test broadcast in some ways with that. MockDraftNFL.com is where I have my mock draft. I also own several other different websites, including DraftKing.com. And I've been kind of deliberating, what do I do with DraftKing? How do I make it different? Because when I say it's Lou Pickney from DraftKing, people think DraftKings, the gambling company, and they stop listening and stop thinking. Less than 2 years ago, Reddit refused to take my money for ads because they thought DraftKings was too similar to DraftKings. It didn't matter that I started in 2003. It didn't matter I got prior approval. Some other manager, no, you got overruled. But okay, we'll find another way around it. Here we have DraftKings 2026 NFL Mock Draft Database. Now, I did this on the behest of my, if I can consider my LLM consultants. I'm talking Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, which has a version of ChatGPT. Perplexity. Sometimes I'll check with Gemini, with Google. I'm feeling daring. Pull up the version of Claude on DuckDuckGo. Now, I see a lot of potential harm with AI, especially in some sort of a decision-making role. Yet another reason I want to have multiple platforms to stream on. I'm very excited about Blaze. I'm glad people that are watching, of course, wherever you're watching. And later, this will be repurposed for YouTube. And part of what prompted me to do this was the LLM consultant saying, well, if you really want to get more overall attention, get more cred or whatever, put more content on YouTube, even if it's a small channel. Okay. But if I can do it live here on Blaze, all the better. I've had a tough time getting audience conversion from the people that, there have been people that have been reading me for decades. Okay, I go back a ways. But a lot of them have no interest in gaming whatsoever. And I've got a gaming audience that doesn't really care about the NFL. You've got Blaze, which is a new platform. It's not typecast. It's not, oh, it's that gaming platform. It's this new platform. What does this have? I found it to be very smooth, very easy to use. They've got a great community of people over in the Blaze Discord. All right, so, and again, I posted the link in the chat already. And again, I do have the simulcast on Twitch tonight, and there are people that will watch me there as well. But I encourage everybody, if you're watching on Twitch, to Follow me on Blaze. I think that platform, a lot of potential. And there'll be plenty of gaming content. Just wait until the update comes for Warsake and Blitz. You'll get plenty of gaming content from me. But this is something a little bit different. Different audience, and so we'll see. So anyway, that was the long prelude to setting up this mock draft database. Now, this only has mock drafts going back to the 5th. I started like, okay, the NFL season's over. You start putting names and numbers together. Now, there are so many things that I've done in the past 2 months. I've had more success in the past 2 months listening to a couple of real-life consultants, because I'm just not blindly following AI, because that could be very dangerous. But a lot of it has been, that first month in November in particular, was putting together a list of my accomplishments, and it felt so much like bragging. It was like off-putting to me. But I wasn't writing it to convince people. I wasn't even writing it to convince the Google search engine. I was writing it to convince these LLMs. And the way it's worked out, it's influenced everything. And so this was the latest suggestion. Okay, you should do this. Okay. Let's try it. Oh, you should put your name first. they insisted on it. I even did checked it with another one. Like, okay, does this make Pickney, or sure I said Pickney, does this make Pickney sound, too arrogant or too braggadocious? Like, no. I can see why people can get somewhat addicted to the AI chatbots, particularly people with a certain power-controlled personality, getting told what they want to hear. Because some of those chatbots are quite adept at that. But okay, this is not going to be too weird. Like, nope, you should put yourself on the top. It's to the point now where there's AI bots out there that have scraped some of my websites. And I know this because it scrapes some of my sites and a lot of other people's as well, and it kind of jumbles them together. But my lists, when they show up on some random camera website that put a blog about the NFL draft in to try and just siphon some traffic, I suppose, from web searches, it cited me, and that cited that blog as a source for giving me credit for, Pickney did all this and this. It's kind of wild. The influence going. The number 2 spot, AI didn't tell me to put Jason Boris at number 2, but that was my decision. He puts out 1 mock draft per year on that first day of the draft. I need to make sure I'm in a spot where I can see the chat for Blaze. Lantality, the house. Rings a welcome. Let's see if I can do this properly here. Lantality, a 1-month subscription on Blaze. Confirm gift. Confirm. Processing. There we go. Thank you for being here, Flantality. It's Nashville Live. Live on Blaze. Simulcast on Twitch. So again, people I know will watch me on Twitch, but not everybody cares about the NFL draft. I know this. My large international audience, I look at the numbers, I see this. But yet, I'm told by consultants who have been right about everything. That's the crazy part. These LLMs have been right with everything they've told me to do that I followed. It's worked out every time. If you look up Tennessee lacrosse announcer on Google, guess who shows up at the top nearly every time? Me. Nashville lacrosse announcer. Me. NFL mock draft database. There's an exact keyword search website name that has that name that I've shown up in front of, and this just launched less than 2 days ago, this particular page. So anyway, I gave myself a check mark. I really laid it on thick. All right, we're going to be a bear, be a grizzly. Hey, you're welcome, Flantality. Hey, thank you for watching. Again, trying things out here with Blaze. It's a new platform. And in a world where it's increasingly difficult to tell what's real and what's not, there's more and more going to be demand for people with even a small audience that you can bring. And I think people that might have been hesitant about Twitch or about Kick because they think of gaming and like, okay, Lou, this silly wrestling games, whatever. Let me know when they're talking about the draft again. Believe me, I get it. But when I've got a separate spot that's not a gaming platform per se with Blaze, I think it's a win-win. If I can bring people to the table and help promote them, help promote me, It works quite well. Got a lot of people from the world of wax gaming in the mix. But again, this is not a gaming stream I've got here set up. We're going to be talking NFL draft. So also be talking reaction from that Miami victory over Ole Miss, 31-27. All right, so I've already went through my mock draft on stream the other day, so I won't do that. And again, Jason's won't be up until the first day of the draft, but he has done very well the last few years. Other mock draft people can't index him. Like, they can't just take me and Jason and some of the people that have done very well over the past few years, like Eddie Brown. Just kind of make your own list out of that. You can't do that with Jason's stuff. But yet he's on top of those late-breaking things that if you're really paying attention, you might get. He does a great job in that point. So that's why he's got the number 2 spot. Everybody else I'm putting on like the date that it came up. Let's see. We'll start with Fran Duffy. I've known Fran a long time. One of those people like I know online but haven't met in person. Always connect him with the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's see. He's got this with DNVR. And I made a note with these mock drafts, like kind of go through like, okay, let's pick 3 names that either stand out because they're not in a lot of mocks, or they seem high or lower than others. They may indicate a trend or just a different line of thinking. So let's go through what Fran has here. Again, I'm not sure how compelling this will be, but I mean, there's a lot of people wanting to talk mock draft. And again, my consultants pushed very hard. You should really do this, Lou. You should really do this. Oh, okay. Again, they've been right about everything. I mean, it's slightly frightening in some ways. But okay. Why didn't I see that myself? The closest I've seen to the AI being incredulous with me. Like, well, of course you should make a mock draft database, Lou. Not knowing it's me, but would Pickney be well served to do that? Or to talk about myself in the third person like I'm The Rock. Anyway, let's get to the Fran's mock. It's written right here, he's got some details below. But this does make it quick to go through at a glance. Kenyon Sadiq at 9 to the Chiefs is interesting to me. I nearly did that in my last mock, but I was like, I don't know about Sadiq as a top 10. I think, according to most evaluators at this point, Sadiq is the top as far as the tight ends go. Although he's not the only tight end on that list there for Fran, as you might notice. So again, live on Blaze with a simulcast on Twitch. We're talking NFL draft. We'll talk some Miami and Ole Miss here in just a bit. I'm letting the the Reddit post file in first, and then we'll get reaction from there, and hopefully the language will be appropriate. I can't promise things. We're live. Anyway, so with this mock draft here from Fran, so you got Sadiq at 9, which is interesting. I've had Downs connected with the Bengals for a while. Doesn't mean it'll happen. It's just that pairing makes a lot of sense, at least depending on what happens with the Bengals and their edge rusher situation. Maybe that'll be a settled deal, maybe it won't, by the time late April rolls around. This with Reuben Bain Jr. I feel like I'm more of a fan of his than maybe the average analyst, because I've had him up here like at 4 to the Titans. But there's some guys with some size, like Keldrick Falk from Auburn. And David Bailey. I complained the other day about one of the broadcasters in the Oregon versus Texas Tech game referring to Bailey as a future top 10 pick. But you look at a bunch of these recent mocks from pretty sharp people, and they've had Bailey up there. I had him at 12, so it wasn't like I thought it was way off. I was like, well, I wouldn't say that definitively future top 10. Crystal ball, but that certainly seems to be the direction it's going in. Now we go, Cece. He's going to be playing for a national championship with Miami, but I like that with him with the Browns potentially. Ty Simpson to the Steelers. I think that's going to be a popular connection. Trying to read the tea leaves there. Who knows what's going to happen with the Steelers in the playoffs? Is this Aaron Rodgers' last ride? Mike Tomlin versus John Harbaugh. Loser fired game. And they lived up to the steps after all. Anyway. But yeah, Justin Jolly. NC State tight end. Got him going to the Broncos at 30. That's just notable because I haven't seen many tight ends show up. And so there's explanations and all from France. So this be a lot of words. So this is definitely worth your time. And again, the links, if it's not pinned in chat, it'll I'll make sure it shows up there for both sides. As far as the DraftKing.com I've had that site since 2003. Posted again there. So if you're looking for any of these links, especially later, read up quality stuff. It's Nashville Live. So let's see what Cody Williams has. These are the two that from earlier today. I realize this says updated 1.9, but we're talking UTC here if we need to. The whole concept of yesterday, today, and tomorrow with live streaming, it's taking me some time to get adjusted to knowing I've got a worldwide audience, but just different than the standard television, radio, that the rules of the game back in the 90s. A little different now. Anyways, let's see what Cody Williams has from Fansided. And I only have mocks in there that don't have a paywall or a forced login. I think that's a pretty... I don't think I'm asking for too much. And there's some quality stuff that is paywall. I would denigrate those people. And something you don't have to pay for even, just to have a login, like with what Todd McShay has. So this is from Cody Williams here. Let's see what he has. He's talking potential trade. I tend to not do mock trades in mine. It's tough enough to get this stuff to hit without trying to guess on a trade. But sometimes I'll project with the anticipation of a trade up or trade down. So Mendoza, you're going to see a lot of Mendoza to the Raiders at 1. I still think Dante Moore, don't count it out, but don't count out Dante Moore possibly going back to Oregon. We'll see. I'll be back on here tomorrow night after the Indiana versus Oregon game, so we can talk about it then a bit more. But in the case this happens, would the Jets trade back? Maybe. It's interesting to see. I mean, this is, even at this point, we're still painting with broad brushes, considering we only know the top 18 order. The playoffs will determine the rest. So, see, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Cardinals can trade Kyler Murray. I think the salary, from what I understand, now look, I'm not an expert, and maybe somebody that knows finances and the NFL salary cap better than me can explain it. But I've read from some of those people, and they've all said it looks like they're going to have to cut him. He's not going to be back next year in Arizona. If they can trade him, that's great for the Cardinals. It would give a veteran presence for the Jets. And maybe he'll sign with the Jets anyway. But it's interesting to see, though. I mean, it's laying it out there. And this sees the Jets taking Arvell Reese, really good linebacker, Ohio State. He's unique because most linebackers don't have his blitzing ability and ability to drop back into coverage. A special talent. I mean, I'll say that a lot about these guys, special talents, because they are. Carnell Tate's got a really uncanny ability to get open. I mean, he could go to the Titans at 4. That's a distinct possibility. You could have receiver. If it's Tate and then Jordan Tyson to the Giants at 5. I don't think the Giants will go receiver. They could. But I think they got maybe a few other spots to target there. We'll see. I mean, it's not a bad pick if they get Tyson necessarily, because he's got that great catch radius. Again, CeCe going to the Browns, that's been a popular matchup, especially once you got to the point where the Cardinals were up closer to the top 3. I was thinking that might be where he would end up, and who knows, he might. And this is the fan-sided. This is the Cody Williams draft from earlier today. Trying something different here. Live on Blaze with a simulcast on Twitch. Glad to have you here as part of it. Nashville Live. All right, testing something over here on my console. Blaze is very easy to use as far as the dashboard goes. It doesn't feel clunky like Kick does. Kick has always felt clunky to me. And maybe because it's still in beta mode, maybe Kick will be smoother later. But I can talk about him now because I'm not streaming there at the moment. They get the best of blockchain brawlers on a loop. The bots seem to love it, or somebody loves it. It's getting a ton of viewers earlier. I don't allow chat there. I can't monitor it. That thing goes when I'm asleep. Most platforms don't want that. Kick is willing to tolerate it from me. Like when I'm live on Twitch, on my main channel on Twitch, I really need to be live as much as possible. So Ribbon Bane Jr. going to the Commanders at 7. Again, I like Bain a lot. Some think that his length, like arm length, might be an issue as far as not being prototype. But, I mean, you see the way he plays. He's great against the run. You can have him for on the field, 3-down kind of player. He's not just going to come in as a pass rushing specialist, in other words. Mekhi Lemon, that's kind of high for where I've seen Lemon in some spots. It could happen, though, for the Saints at number 8. Tyler Shuck has worked out well at quarterback. Another quarterback that seemed like he stayed in college a very long time, and it's worked out well for him in the NFL. Notice how this is happening now. And the NFL is a copycat league. In another era, Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. being multiple-time transfers, oh, that's a red flag. Now it's just working the territories. And it's really a unique thing for quarterbacks. Everybody else, like, look, you're going to break down physically by the age of 30 in all likelihood. Go get that money right now while you can. Quarterbacks a little different. I mean, they break down as well, but it's... You don't get much time to learn on the job once you're in the NFL. Not in the modern NFL. And I think the results have kind of spoken for themselves. Anyway, we'll continue here with this mock draft on Fansided from Cody Williams here on Nashville Lou Live. And this is the consultants kind of push me. All right, try and find a way to get your website work and your live streaming to kind of come together. And it was this kind of conundrum because, again, my gaming audience does not necessarily want to hear me talk about the NFL draft. My NFL draft audience don't want to see me play The Sims 3 for 3 hours necessarily. You know, they're missing out. Bailey at 9 to the Chiefs is interesting. A lot of different spots the Chiefs could go there with that number 9 spot. They haven't had a high pick like this in a while. At 10, again, Caleb Downs to the Bengals. I'm not the only one seeing that as a possibility. Mansour to Miami at 11. I knew I didn't write down one of the pronouncers. I keep wanting to say Delane, but I don't know if that's... I do so much reading with this. I don't do much as far as listening sometimes, as far as hearing other people pronounce the names. I'm not trying to botch anybody's name. Here's the name I can say, Sonny Styles. Really good linebacker from Ohio State to the Cowboys at 12. Spencer Fano, a little bit low. I've seen Fano kind of slide down a little bit on some mock drafts. They got him at 13. It's still a top half of first round. The Rams have 2 first rounders. This has Fano still on the board and them going to the LA Rams at 13. At 14, one that I've had on my board as well, Peter Woods from Clemson. Really good defensive tackle. It's exceptionally rare you'll meet anybody his size just in day-to-day life. And for that somebody that size to be that quick, it's really a unique thing with him. And don't try and make him cut weight to be an edge rusher. That didn't work out as well. He's already exceptionally quick with a huge size. Let's just leave well enough alone. But look, I mean, easy in hindsight to say that. And Clemson at least realized and said, all right, quit making him try and slim down. Just bring in the heat from the interior defensive line pass rusher like that can really disrupt things. Keldrick Falk at 15 to the Bucks. Again, I've seen Falk starting to rise up into top 10s. This has the Bucks taking him at 15. 16, Jermod McCoy. The Jets. I've kind of taken a little stance with McCoy. He's got to run a 40. He's got to do a workout and prove to me that he's healthy. I got burned last year. A lot of people got burned last year thinking Will Johnson out of Michigan was going to be a first-round pick. Injured corner. Immensely talented. And he's had a great season. It's over now that season. His rookie year with Arizona. Had a great season with them. I'm not talking about projecting who's going to do well and who's not. I'm talking about projecting who's going to go in the first round. That's why people come to me. That's the only reason in some cases why people come to me. They may stick around if they're entertained. But that's what they want to know. It's not what I think is going to happen, what they should do. I got away from that during the pandemic. Circumstances kind of changed things for a lot of people. And it started working remarkably well once I stopped trying to play scout and said, all right, let's listen to the evaluators that really are good at this and use my analysis skills. And that has worked out better. At 17, again, another one that I've had, Proctor to the Lions. While Detroit could go defensive edge, defensive tackle, Proctor, as big as Proctor is, there's talk they may have him at the NFL level play at guard. So this is the post show. Miami beat Ole Miss 31-27. Live on Blaze. Simulcast on Twitch. Nearly a half hour in. Time just gets away. Only going through a couple of mock drafts. We still have a reaction from Reddit. We'll see if I'll regret this. Nashville after dark. I've got to work clean. If you work clean, you work anywhere. I don't want my live stream to ever undermine my real life sports broadcasts. I get to call state championship games. I can control my language. People are here to hear me do that anyway. Vikings, Jeremiah Love. I think, well, I have Love in my latest mock at 9. He could easily end up there at 18. I think he'd be a very good fit for the Vikings. He's realistically the only running back that at this point looks like a likely first-round pick. Vikings have need at that spot, so that would make sense if it happens. That photo. Caden McDonald, he's shot up a lot of boards lately. Here at 19 to the Carolina Panthers. And again, for context, this is the Cody Williams fan-sided mock draft. DraftKings 2026 NFL mock draft database. The AI consultants, the LLMs consultants, they told me to do this. They told me to put my name at number 1 at the top. Put all this braggadocious stuff. Like, really? Okay. At least I can blame them for it, because it's kind of weird to me to do it that way. Even the check mark. All right. Let's see if this works. And thus far, it really has. It's been up for like 2 days. Not even that. Anyway, just letting you know what we're doing here with Cody Williams' fan-sided mock. Just going through these mock drafts, some of these, and we'll check out some stuff in Reddit. Kind of give this a test run. Nashville Live. All right, so again, Caden McDonald. Ohio State had to replace a lot of talent in its defensive line from its championship season, 2024. McDonald did a really good job there for Ohio State this season. See him going to or I should say, Cody Williams. Has McDonald going to the Panthers at 19. At 20, Dallas Cowboys, the pick they got as part of the Micah Parsons trade. Cassius Howell, Texas A&M edge. This has been a pretty popular matching. I've heard some concerns about Howell as a first rounder. There's a lot of edge prospects. And that's another thing, like if I memories from last year, is getting burned on those injured corners. Devon Ravel, Will Johnson. I mean, as talented as they are, this isn't about their talent. It's about not going in the first round. That's what they all really care about. That's okay. We're all aiming at the same target. But along with that was some edge prospects that looked like first rounders. They were tracking like first rounders, and they did not go in the first round. Doesn't mean it won't happen this year, but it's just, these are things I remember. Anyway, so Howell at 20, though, has been a popular matchup as of late, and so that's what we see here. 21, the Steelers with Denzel Boston. I think if the Steelers don't go quarterback here, wide receiver, a distinct possibility. Certainly depending on who's on the board. 22. LA Chargers going interior offensive line. Vega Ioane. Man, they call Vega. And Proctor might play offensive guard in the NFL, but as far as like a quote-unquote, top of the class as far as interior offensive lineman, Ioane. Let's call him Vega. I struggle with these names. I try. 23, Eagles, Kenyon Sadiq. That's one I see happening easily. Now, who knows if Sadiq's going to come out? I don't think it's a given as far as the Oregon players go. Of course, they're playing against Indiana tomorrow. I'll be live again tomorrow here on Blaze after the Oregon versus Indiana game. They're going to be hard-pressed to the top of what we had tonight. That instant classic, Miami beating Ole Miss 31-27. Going through the Cody Williams fan-sided mock draft. C.J. Allen, linebacker from Georgia. Yeah, I think we're going to see some of these linebackers go in this late part of the first round. How many? I don't know. Allen certainly looks to be in that range. 25, Christian Miller started to show up on some lists. D lineman from Georgia. We'll see. Again, with these playoff teams, these spots are subject to change, depending on results of the playoffs. 26, San Francisco 49ers. Caleb Lomu. Lomu had 2 years of eligibility remaining, but he opted to go into the NFL draft, and he's not a lock to go first round, but I've seen a lot saying Lomu mid to late first. Maybe he'll play guard, maybe play tackle, fill him in a few spots. This has the 49ers taking Lomu at 26. 27, another one that's been kind of up and coming far as the interior offensive line, Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon. Again, Oregon, there's a reason they're playing in the semifinal coming up later today / tomorrow. They've got a ton of talent. And again, who knows how many of these guys will have just like this overwhelming amount of money to stick around at Oregon. I don't know. I mean, the real question is Dante Moore, but it goes beyond him. Anyway, Pregnon to the Texans at 27. 28, Ty Simpson. There's going to be a lot of talk about Ty Simpson. Realistically, he probably would have made more money if he had transferred to another school, and there was a lot of talk Tennessee was trying to get him to, but I never felt that was going to be a serious option for Simpson. Maybe it was, but it reminded me a lot of Quinn Ewers from Texas last year, where it was like, you could tell he was dead set. He wanted to be a Texas quarterback for life. And that meant going to the NFL and being a 7th round pick, barely getting to play until getting thrown to the Wolves there late in the season. Quinn Ewers is the cautionary tale. Now it's different with Ty Simpson. He's 23 years old. He grew up around the sport. His father, coach of a UT Martin. The word was that Simpson was not going to go pro unless he felt it was highly probable that he would be a 1st round pick. Actually, I asked Google on that one. Okay, what is highly probable? 80% or higher. We'll see. But this is not going to be exactly a deep quarterback class. And he had to make the decision pretty quickly. You know, it's not like some of these guys. Who knows with Trinidad Chambliss, quarterback for Ole Miss, that heartbreaking loss for the Rebels tonight. Now he's still like waiting on this decision, this appeal to get one extra season of eligibility for the NCAA. I mean, in my opinion, he should get it, but I know there are rules they have to follow. So we'll see. But whatever the case, Simpson, he's going to the pros, and I don't know. I don't think the Browns will take a quarterback in round 1. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I don't see that happening, though. But here, Simpson to the Browns at 28. Maybe they'll like him, they'll take him. But I think they've got one more year to suffer before they'll try and swing hard for the fences in 2027. But that's just conjecture. We'll see. LA Rams with their own pick on the clock here at 29. Avion Terrell out of Clemson. I see him going late first. I think it's pretty much on point. Patriots at 30. TJ Parker at some points early in the 2025 season. There's talk of Parker as a top 5, top 10. There was a lot of depth at edge in this draft, just like there was last year. So we'll see what the Patriots do. They might take Parker there at 30. At 31, Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. Receiver for the Broncos. Makes sense. His name's been creeping up on boards. And then Keontae Scott was an interesting one. He'll be playing for a national championship. Seahawks could use help at corner. And so that's the 32 pick there for Cody Williams. It's Nashville live on Blaze, simulcast on Twitch. Testing some things out here with this live stream. Let's take a look at one more here. Eddie Brown. I'm a big fan of Eddie. He's been writing for years for the San Diego Union Tribune. And it's interesting to me because he's one of the few ones that sees it my way as far as Dante Moore at number 1. And look, I mean, it could be Mendoza. Mendoza is an excellent quarterback as well. But that caught my attention because I've been an outlier. I was really an outlier when I thought Moore was going back and I was being kind of hard-headed about it. Okay. And sometimes I will have to conform. That means putting a higher profile name on the list, so be it. But at least I match everybody else now. It really is easier if you just presume everybody's coming out until they say otherwise. Let's take a look at what Eddie Brown has here. San Diego Union Tribune. Now, Eddie's got like an entire 2-round mock. We'll have a reaction. We're going to check in from Reddit. Get the reaction from Ole Miss fans. Get the reaction from Miami Hurricanes fans. Miami with that big 31-27. Absolute thriller of a game. All right, so let's see. With Eddie, he's going through some of these wild card weekend coming up in the NFL. And Eddie last season, the Huddle Report. He tied for first between 2019 and 2023. He's consistent. He's been solid. Just because I don't talk about a lot of these names, or I haven't before, doesn't mean I don't know who they are. I do a lot of reading, as I've mentioned. Half of it's just figuring out who really knows what they're talking about, who's just blowing smoke. Anyway, so I think it's a pretty strong case to be made for Dante Moore, possibly. But here's the thing for the Raiders. If they want to take Moore and they want to convince him to come out, they need to know pretty quickly that he's going to be the guy they want. Also, if they do that and Moore says, no, I'm going to stay at Oregon, Mr. Phil Knight's made it worth my while to stay here in Eugene. If that then gets out they didn't want Mendoza, and he was their second choice, then it makes them look inept. So that does put them in a bit of a predicament as far as, like, if you think you want Moore. And then I'm not even sure what some of the rules in the NFL as far as tampering, but I mean, that's what agents are for. You think I'm kidding? In this case, I think if this happens this way, if it does go where it's Moore going to the Raiders, Mendoza to the Jets, I think could work out well. I mean, again, it's a great story. The Jets had a bunch of administrators and decision makers when Indiana played at Penn State, and Mendoza had a drive for the ages to lead Indiana to victory late in that game. Much like Carson Beck had several very impressive long drives tonight, and Miami's went over Ole Miss. That one had a drive there at the end that one to remember, to be sure. And so if the Jets were there and saw it, and they end up with Mendoza, and he has a great career, then it's a great story to tell. There's that side of it. I mentioned Keldrick Fox, been moving up on a lot of boards. You see him there. The 3 at Arizona. And there's several options for the Cardinals. I've had them slotted with an offensive tackle. It doesn't mean that'll happen. They're going to need another quarterback. I've seen some people start to whisper, well, what about Ty Simpson at 3? We'll see. I don't think so, but maybe. And that's no offense to Ty Simpson. That's just based on what people that I know who know what they're talking about have said from an evaluation standpoint. Titans at 4. Arvell Reese. The Titans really need an edge rusher or somebody that's unique like Reese that can blitz from the edge. They got Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle, tremendous player. It's a shame the Titans have not done well the last couple of years. Simmons is a phenomenal interior defensive lineman. If you gave him a really good edge rusher or somebody like Reese you could bring off the edge easily, some potential there for Tennessee. Maybe you go offensive line, maybe you go receiver. And that's where the evaluation process over the next few months is going to kick in. The top talent, the usual need spots, you know what you're talking about. Offensive line, particularly tackle, these top spots. And of course, quarterbacks, receivers, maybe some corners, edge rushers. Now we'll go another one that says now we'll go to the Browns at 6. CC. Playing for a national championship. Reuben Bain Jr. to the Commanders. I think he'd be a great fit with the Titans, but just because I think that doesn't mean that that's going to happen. Because there's a lot of great edge rushers in this draft, and the Titans have other needs beyond just edge. At 8, Carnell Tate. Getting a lot of Tate in the top 10. Again, he's just, if you watch much at all of Ohio State, you already know this. And he just has this amazing ability to get open. Even when teams know this and they try and pin him in, or if they do it too much, that frees up one of his teammates to get open. So it becomes a bit of a conundrum. And you know it is in the NFL now. You're trying to get that ball released in 3 seconds if you can. So it works out well. Now you have to remember though with Tate, he's not going to have blazing fast speed at the combine or at the Ohio State Pro Day. That's not he's not a sprint guy. He's fast, don't get me wrong. There's no room for slow receivers in the NFL, sorry. There's just not. There's extremely fast and just fast. But Tate's got that unique ability to get open. He's great as far as making those catches, very consistent, great hands. New Orleans at 6 or 8, that is a possibility for the Saints. At 9, we talked the Chiefs, a lot of different options. They want to stretch, maybe get a tight end there. Edge rusher, David Bailey. Maybe I was wrong to be so critical of saying Bailey's a future top 10 pick, and he might be. I just don't think it's a lock. There's a lot of edge talent, a lot of time to go between now and late April. But here it's David Bailey going to the Chiefs at 9. I mean, he's a great pass rusher. It's not all a negative on Bailey. At 10, here we go again. Caleb Downs, Cincinnati Bengals. I've been saying this for a while. Others see it this way as well. Eddie and I tend to see things similarly as far as some of this stuff goes. Number 11, Miami. You think they go corner. Mansour in there. Good chance to be the first corner taken at 12. Dallas with Jeremiah Love. That's interesting. As you look at me, and Eddie knows the team needs their edge, safety, linebacker. Their defense needs some help, but we'll see what the Cowboys decide to do. 13, LA Rams pick they got from Atlanta. Ty Simpson at 13. So Eddie's got Simpson a lot higher, but that's starting to be the trend I've noticed. Now again, just because it's trending doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but sometimes those trends are hints at things that people know. 14, Jordan Tyson, Baltimore. I can see that. I mean, Tyson, if he's on the board at this point, with that great radius. Solid playmaker. All right, so 15. Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio State. See a lot of Sonny Styles starting to be in that kind of middle range. Some separation between Styles and some of the rest of the off-ball linebackers. And his teammate, Arvell Reese, really is the one of one. But between Reese and Caleb Downs, I mean, Styles has had two very unique teammates there as far as not just a really good defensive line that the Buckeyes have had. Anyway, so Styles, if it's not the Bucs, he'll go somewhere in that range, the way it looks now. At 16, the Jets, Peter Woods. They need to get a defensive tackle. Woods would be a good pickup right here. That makes a lot of sense if he's on the board. I mean, I think he'd be a steal. He'd be a good deal at 14. 16, a big better deal. Would fill a need. Jets are rebuilding. 17, Eddie's got Detroit taking Jermod McCoy again. I'm waiting for McCoy to show he's healthy. Prove it. I remember last year too vividly. I mean, McCoy's a great talent, don't get me wrong, but it's like run-stuffing defensive tackles. There's a time and a place for certain injured corners. It's day two, no matter how good you are. But if he proves he can get that torn ACL he suffered was in January of last year, there was a time many years ago when a torn ACL could end a career. And luckily, sports medicine has advanced to the point where they can do some remarkable things for guys to... It takes a lot of recovery, a lot of work, but they can get back out there sometimes even better than before. At 18, Caleb Banks. Huge defensive lineman from Florida. Kind of limited by injuries this past season. He's going to thrill at the workouts. He's going to put on a show. The defensive tackles, you're going to hear the oohs and ahs from the people in attendance. And I presume he's healthy enough to do the workouts. So there wasn't a lot of tape for him this season, but Banks, he's legit. 19, Carolina. This is interesting. Carolina with Kenyon Sadiq. I mean, who knows the Oregon players? Sadiq is young, much like Dante Moore is young. But the way it's been trending, when guys are looking like first-round picks, they're declaring for the draft, unless they're quarterbacks. That's the exception. The quarterbacks have been fighting tooth and nail. The extra year of eligibility, like we were talking about with Chambliss earlier. This is Nashville Lou Live talking NFL Draft. We'll have a reaction from Reddit coming up here soon. Miami Hurricanes, Ole Miss Rebels, Miami winning in an instant classic. Bonnie T in the house. I don't know why I removed your link. I don't know how to undo that. Let me see. On Blaze, Fonny T will give you a 1-month sub. There you go. It says link. I presume there's an auto mod of some sort. Live here on Blaze, simulcast on Twitch. But again, and particularly when it comes to non-gaming content, I think Blaze is a really good platform. People are not going to be confused. Like, is this Lou playing AEW Fight Forever again? No. This is Warsaken. Warsaken's great, but this is not what I'm doing here. I'm going through the NFL Draft, which again, for my gaming fans, This isn't necessarily what they want from me. And for my NFL draft people, they don't want to sit there and watch me play a baseball game or whatever. So it works out well if I've got multiple platforms. And it's weird because in this world of live streaming, nearly everybody uses a pseudonym of some sort. But I've always been the guy who uses his real name. Radio, TV, whatever. But I'm Nashville Lou. But I'm Lou Pickney. And some people know me as one or the other, and it's like, okay. As long as you're watching, glad to have you here. All right, so we're talking here 19 Carolina, Kenyon Sadiq. Carolina needs some help at edge. It needs some help, a couple different spots, but you want a unique talent at tight end. I mean, Sadiq looks to be the best of the bunch at this point, if he comes out. At 20, Dallas, they need help at corner. And Eddie Brown has the Dallas Cowboys taking Avion Terrell, corner out of Clemson. 21, Steelers. See a lot with the Steelers and receivers. Mekhi Lemon. A very good season with the USC Trojans. 22, I mentioned Caden McDonald earlier. Ohio State, his name's been showing up a lot. These mock drafts. And here, Eddie's got Chicago taking McDonald at 22. 23, Vega. Going to a lot of Vega to the Chargers, which makes sense. Chargers need help at interior offensive line. Vega's really good. And while the Chargers could fill some other needs depending on if one of those top two tackles falls or if they like an edge that's on the board, bring in Vega, I think they'd be in a pretty good spot there. Philadelphia Eagles at 24, TJ Parker, edge out of Clemson. And there'll be a lot of edge talent that's going to be on the board here in this range, at least in theory. You never know for sure. 25, Buffalo, Denzel Boston. It makes sense. The Bills could use another receiver. 26, we've seen this a few times. Caleb Lomu, 49ers. I mean, it makes sense. Maury Washington, another Oregon player that could potentially stay in college. But again, these linemen, by and large, have been going pro, even if they had remaining eligibility. But first things first, they're playing Indiana less than 24 hours from now. Find out who's going to play Miami for the national championship. Here I've got Washington going to the Houston Texans at 27. The Texans have needs at interior offensive line, but if they don't want to try and bump Proctor in at guard, maybe they go in another direction there. And if Proctor's on the board at 28, lucky there for the LA Rams, they can take Proctor at 28. Again, he's going to be impressive when they have like some of these guys, I just know it because they're on the Bruce Feldman's freaks list. Like some of these just unique talents that are out there that there's a reason these few people get this special attention because they can do things that nobody else in the world can do. Not like they can. Actually not in their age range. Maybe somebody 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but these careers don't last very long in the NFL if you haven't noticed. It is a grueling, punishing sport. Never forget that part of it. 29, Cleveland Browns picked from the Jacksonville Jaguars as part of last year's draft, that night one trade. Again, I've said Indiana's receivers are underrated. Elijah Surratt. See, his name's starting to show up a bit. I think we've seen Chris Bell's name start to slide down some boards because he unfortunately suffered a torn ACL in Louisville's bowl game. Although even after that injury, I've seen some prognosticators that still have Bell as a first rounder. So we'll see. Cassius Howell, a name that's starting to show up a lot as far as edge rushers here, going to New England at 30. 31, C.J. Allen, linebacker from Georgia to the Denver Broncos. And then Colton Hood, Seattle at 32. So that's what Eddie Brown has, San Diego Union Tribune. And yes, my name's at the first. Again, this is me. I did the behest. The LLM consultants. I said, do it like this. Make lists. Okay, I made lists. It worked. Put your name at the top. Really? Yes. Is it going to sound arrogant if it says King of the Independents? No, it sounds promotional. Okay. Do I really need the check mark? Yes. Okay. Somehow this is my life. Now, at some point, I'm going to have to figure out what the cutoff's going to be. I just started this list with mocks that were new as of the 5th because that was when the NFL, at least the top 18 spots got locked in with the finish of the regular season. It's Nashville Live. Live on Blaze, simulcast on Twitch. I'll be live again tomorrow night after the Indiana versus Oregon semifinal games. I'm looking forward to that. So let's go ahead now and delve into the world of Reddit. Now, I don't know what this will be true reaction content here. These mocks I've read through them before, but the stuff from Reddit, I can't promise it'll all be family friendly. I can do the edits later for YouTube, but we're live here, pal. So fair warning. It's Nashville Live. All right. Let's start with the winners. Miami Hurricanes. Let me reload the page because it's from a few hours ago. Look at that. No wonder Miami got the win. Hey, that kind of swag in the house like there. Man. Need to show support. What a win for the Hurricanes tonight. An absolute gut punch loss for Ole Miss. Comment from 423 Big B. Scary thought. Y'all, do you realize this whole playoff series, we have yet to play our actual best ball game? Today was on it the worst games we played in terms of penalties and missed opportunities. We have 11 days to get healthy and mentally prepared to play our most disciplined game. At our best, no one is beating us. Through the gauntlet. The Canes have gone through the gauntlet. One more to go. We've done it in all three ways. Defensive battle against A&M. A balanced and clean game against Ohio. Offensive shootout against Ole Miss. Every analyst said if the game turns into a shootout, the Canes stand no chance. This team is an all-time great. I went to the UF and FSU games this year, and the feeling I left with after those games was that this team had it. I've been defending CMC through the losses, and he's repaid all my loyalty. God, I love the Canes. The comments there from Reddit/Canes. Miami has now beat 4 of the other 9 teams ending AP top 10. Let me try that again. Miami has now beat 4 of the other 9 season-ending AP top 10 teams with a chance for a 5th. Guessing that this has never been done before, but I'm too lazy to research it. Interesting question from Beefcliff. Let's see. Again, I don't know what these responses are here, so if there's something unsavory on screen, fair warning. Remember they said we didn't belong in the playoffs? Kind of crazy, isn't it? The system has to change. They wanted BYU. LMAO. ACC owned the SEC in the playoffs. Glad we have home field advantage. Let's go. That's another thing. Miami gets to play the championship game in Miami. I mean, what a story for Carson Beck. Of course, I pay close attention to all this stuff, and I've seen what Miami's been doing in the NIL era. I saw what they did with Cam Ward, what they've done here with Carson Beck. They've made Miami a place where top quarterbacks, it's like a finishing school, a grad school. Come here, get some nice money. And they clearly have got the financial investment behind it. Now they're about to play for a championship. It's Nashville Live. Hey there, SDB123. I don't have Twitchy Tides running tonight. This is got the simulcast on Twitch, but this is really a Blaze focused broadcast. You're welcome, Fawny T. I don't think you can reply to people directly in the chat on Blaze. It's entirely possible you can. I just don't know how to. I tried. There we go. I really do think it's going to be easier to talk. And I did this as kind of like a soft launch because I wasn't quite sure how this was going to play out. But then you blink and we're nearly an hour in. Haven't even hit Ole Miss yet. Or the NFLDraft subreddit. Let's see what else we have here. ACC owned the SEC in the playoffs. Glad we have home field advantage. Let's go. Bradley's right. Miami's going to have home field advantage. Miami didn't get to play for the ACC championship because these conferences are way too large. Anybody that could do math could have told you that 2 years ago. And yet, here they are. They got in. It felt like Tony Khan booking the AEW Cruiserweight or the Continental Classic Maybe a three-way game. Imagine hearing that week 8, but the Hurricanes had to play for a championship. Stephen Ross got to make the call. We need to be in our home locker room. Natty Day. I don't care about uniform color. We should try to keep the all whites going. If it ain't broke, ... Well, Miami's going to be the lower seed, obviously. So they'll... I suppose that the winner of Indiana and Oregon could do something kind of odd just to do it. We're all white everything. But I don't think that's going to be... I think Miami's got other things to worry about than their uniform color. But I think they'll be the road team. They probably won't get to have their home locker room. This says 7 ranked teams on the year, right? Talking about Miami's victory. Go Canes. Hell of a win for the boys. No work for me tomorrow. As the last seed. Of course, the 11 and 12 seeds were 2 teams that were in. They were conference champions outside of the Power 4. We'll get to Ole Miss's Reddit and the NFLDraft Reddit here before too long. They're an hour in. I thought this might go like this, but I wasn't sure. Going up to you. So I can't, there may be language that's inappropriate. I can't, I'm going to get off of me. Don't be jumping on the coach. We have 17 seconds to go, pal. Cristobal. His reactions, just watching as a neutral fan, Mario Cristobal was really amusing. Like he would sell it when like the call would go against Miami. It felt like, I mean, those were legit emotions. That's part of what the magic is of the sport. And ESPN's production was on point. I tell you what, I think most people at home don't appreciate how much work it is to make it look like they do. They somehow magically have 8 shots in a row lined up. Well, they've got to work hard to line that up. They got some really top-end people. Yeah, so Cristobal coaching for a national championship. There may be some inappropriate language in here. I can't control that. Yeah, I don't want to show copyrighted video. Going through here. National championship bound. Hurricanes. Carson Beck. Look at that for Mario Cristobal. 5-7 in 2022, 7-6 in 2023, 10-3 in 2024, and then this season 12-2. About to play for a national championship. What a turn of events for Miami. The Pelicans fired up. All right. They're showing Cam Ward on the sideline. All right, so that's kind of a look at Miami's reaction. Again, there may be some profanity in here. I can't control what other people post. If you want live reaction, we're getting it here. Live on Blaze, simulcast on Twitch, Nashville Lou Live. We're going to link the 2026 NFL mock draft database. Again, my AI consultant said you got to put your name at number 1. You got to do it this way. Jason Boris, I insist on putting him in there too, just because his stuff's legit. And I'm gonna have a special when Jason's mock draft comes out the morning of the draft. Like, I don't care about streaming during the draft. I'll be riding at that point. Pressure's off then. But plus, there's like 1,000 draft shows that happen during the draft, so that area's kind of filled in. But the Jason Boris mock draft reveal, it happens at some point that morning of it. He'll get it in before the deadline to the Huddle Report. And those guys at the Huddle Report, Robbie does a great job. He's been doing this longer than I have. I start to feel old. Like, well, does Pickney really belong at the top of this list? I start to ask questions to AI like as if I'm trying to get the answer I want to be a negative. Like, does he really belong? If Pickney's that good, shouldn't he be at a big network by now? Like, well, no, actually. And they explain a lot of things which actually matches in real life by having the editorial latitude and the ability to schedule things in my own time. Kind of run my own business with it. Anyway, so it made sense. And this is, so far, the early results have been just ridiculous for this. For as much as like that, the Draft King named me, people they didn't know how to handle me. But as long as my mock draft is on mockdraftnfl.com, I'm Lou Pickney from mockdraftnfl.com, Nashville Lou, that's fine. If they don't see those names, even though I've had this since 2003, it doesn't matter. I can't fight against the tidal wave of gambling advertising. I can do a lot of things, and I have. Sometimes you can do what's smart. So I get the mock draft database on DraftKings, the first thing up there. For the first time in 23 years, my mock draft's not the first thing on that page. It's now this mock draft database. And the way Copilot put it, trying to have the best mock draft is like trying to be the best singer in the world. It's remarkably deep. Well, when you put it like that. Meanwhile, doing this is like being the best librarian. And what it didn't say, but implied, was I've got the topical authority because I've been doing this for so long. And I put my name on the top because they tell me to. And that's okay. I get my name in blue, the check mark and all. That's what they told me to do. Okay, those are the mocks I have in there. These are just ones that have been out since the end of the NFL regular season. All right, so we went through Miami. Now let's go through the losing side, Ole Miss. Let's see how the Ole Miss Rebels, the reaction is on their Reddit. It's Nashville Lou live on Blaze, simulcast on Twitch. Trying some stuff out here. Let's get the reaction on Ole Miss. Again, what a heartbreaker for the Ole Miss Rebels. They played hard. Their head coach walked out on them, Lane Kiffin. And again, I understand why Lane Kiffin took that massive payday to go to LSU. 7 years, what was it, $93 million? A lot of money. I understand. Ole Miss gave it a shot. What a game tonight. So let's see. Great. Again, we can't, some of the language, you know the losing side. If we have salty language on the winning side, so please, fair warning. It's past 12:30 a.m. Eastern, so if you're still with me. They say the game sucked. No doubt the worst cardiac game of the past 5 to 10 years. This season has been great. We made it farther than 133 teams, including all the preseason top 5. We've locked down most of our key players to return next year. If Chambliss gets approved, next year will be one hell of a season. Let's see. Ole Miss receiver held and no call last play. Did refs throw the game to Miami? Let's find out. It was a great game start to finish. Agreed. People whine every time this happens. There are no interference calls on Hail Marys. It says there were a lot of calls that weren't called Ole Miss either. A lot of deleted stuff in here. I can only imagine. This was an amazing game, and I thought for sure you guys had the game. Congrats on a great season for winning despite Kiffin. Some salt over that, and understandably so. We've got an entire post-game thread. Oh, that's in like the college football. Okay, I may head over there because to me, people. I do want to get the reaction from Ole Miss. Let's see. Maybe we get a quick sampling here. Nice game, guys. Super impressed how your team rallied through all the lane mess. Talk about Lane Kiffin. Hope you're proud of your season and future. Your coach and QB are championship caliber. Agreed? Based. Ole Miss gets together. Pat McAfee is insufferable. You're watching the McAfee version if you want to be taken seriously. That's what it looked like there before the game. Ole Miss band out there. They had that looking very nice on television. And while I don't like bowl games hosting playoff games, I'll take that over the old system. It was a fight just to get to 4 teams. It was so much nonsense people told me. Oh, it's going to cheapen the regular season. Nah, not so much. And let's find that big thread. I'm going to dig into this a little bit. There's the box score right there. I guess there's a full box score we can get to, but and look at all that scoring in the fourth quarter. It was just an absolute thriller. As a neutral viewer, again, sometimes people with the NFL draft stuff, this happened early on with DraftKings. They would try to figure out if I had some sort of like bias or leaning towards whatever. Like, look, I was a college football widow at the age of 20. Evansville dropped football after the 1997 season. I did color commentary for some of those games. We didn't know the axe was about to get dropped. And so I think for me, my outlook on this all along, because of that, has been a lot more pragmatic than most. I'm not a scout. I don't have a favorite team that I cheer for per se. I like it when Tennessee does well. I got friends that are Tennessee fans. I like it when Vandy does well. I've got a lot of long-suffering Vandy fans. But look, I'm a rare breed. I mean, look, it's once you see how swiftly something can be done, like with that football team, and look, I understand why Evansville did it. If they tried to keep that going, it'd be a huge financial hole. I understand. But that, again, when I talk about this being a business, and sometimes what I write is kind of cold, but it has to be, because when you're talking about business, it is deadly serious and very cold when it comes to the bottom line. When you're talking about the guy from Washington that was going to sign an NIL deal, then get out of it, and now big mess there. Are you talking about guys that for years will fight with a team over a contract, and they get with franchise tags, they finally sign a new deal, and then a year later they're cut? The owners have the power. They're going to be there a lot longer than most players will, in most cases. Anyway, let's go through this reaction here to this Miami victory over Ole Miss. They're really sad that it ended, but what a season. This is the Ole Miss reaction here. Our defense couldn't tackle, and the offense was up and down. Played a better second half, but we got out-physicaled. Tough night, but proud to be a Rebel. Mr. Turniphead says, amazing season, but Pete has to do something about defense. They just can't tackle. This says Golding should be officially the head coach. Chambliss deserves another year. I agree with Chambliss. I don't disagree with Golding either. I mean, Chambliss didn't play at all in 2022. It was one thing where it's like, okay, well, you played 5 games, the limit was 4. A guy from Florida State. But the problem was it was Division II, and it was like the policies changed recently. But it was different then, so it's complicated. So Chambliss has been trying to concentrate on this playoff, despite having a coach that walked out on his team and being up in the air on what his future is going to be. I mean, he played phenomenally well tonight, I thought. Miami's defense, they've got some really strong edge rushers, but Chambliss is just so elusive. So we'll see if he gets to play another year. We'll see if he stays at Ole Miss. I don't know. I don't see why he would follow Lane Kiffin to LSU. That I don't get. If somebody walked out on you when you had a chance to win a championship, think of all the sweet promises that were made, right? But it's a business. It's a cold business. And yet the emotion's so powerful that people sometimes get very much drawn in. There's a reason these coaches are getting this kind of money. As Golding officially the head coach, never an interim. His offense started too slow. Next time we have to defer the kickoff and play defense first. Statisticians should have told him. That tends to be my thought as well, but some coaches in some places have different outlooks on it. It's Nashville Live. Live on Blaze. Simulcast on Twitch. Well, it just occurred to me, Fonny T probably posted a wax address. I was probably, what got removed there? Oh, that's probably what it was. I've got Fonny T's wax address. I'll be sure. And that's sent out as far as prizes for people that come over from Twitch and check things out on Blaze. All right. Let's see. Tony Chopper says, final team standing from the SEC, and we went down fighting. We beat those dogs and took care of the Green Wave in a playoff game that was hosted in Oxford, Mississippi. What a run for a season most of us didn't have high expectations for. I feel nothing but pride for this team. Outrageous Duty says, I want to feel joy, but I'll have a sadness right now. That is the emotion of college sports. I think for my international viewers, like, Lou, what are you talking about? These ridiculous American college sports, named professional. Like, people care about them. People care about them to a large degree in many cases, especially when it comes to FBS football. It says, proud to be a Rebel. This team should hold its head up. I was a student during the Hugh Freeze days, and we wouldn't even dream about getting this far. We left every ounce of what we had on the field this year. Tawny tawny. OK Masterpiece says, devastating. No DPI in the last call is one thing. But it didn't have to be a Hail Mary at all. I'll try that again. But it didn't have to be a Hail Mary at all. Could have tried for something real with Chambliss. It really came down to our defense. Couldn't stop a single drive. Yet your defensive coordinator is now your head coach. Second best defense in the FBS last year comes down to not spending money on the secondary in the offseason. Staff seems like they're looking to correct for next year. So, classic Ole Miss tradition. Defense always choking when it matters. Anyway, great season. Let's do it again next year. This is me now, says great game. Nice game, guys. I'm super impressed with how your team rallied. Oh, I already read this part. That's one thing with Reddit. I get into one, you go back out to the main menu and it bumps you back up. Or Pat McAfee. I gotta forget that. That's not even funny. All right, so we got to the Ole Miss reaction there. With an hour. And I wasn't sure. I thought probably get an hour. Yeah. So now let's see what r/NFL draft. Now this is the real main event here. This is the stuff people come to me about. NFL draft stuff. Let's see. Who was the youngest player to be drafted #1 overall? Let's do a refresh here. The very latest. It's the hottest, freshest takes. If this thing doesn't load up now, I'm going to be unhappy. It's covered by the overlay. There we go. For those of you that know a ton about prospects, who are some O linemen the Lions could realistically take at 17? I'm not Proctor or Fano or Vega. I mean, Vega with the Lions, that could work. I really think, though, Detroit, it has to be the right player, of course, but man, their defense, it seems like injuries in their defense have really added up. But again, that's true for a lot of teams, especially in a 17-game season. If Taylor Decker does retire, see Caleb Lomu from Utah being the pick at 17. Where does Carson Beck land? Now, this is interesting. I know nobody wants to talk about him, but you can't ignore his experience in big games. He could be a great landing spot for a team with a more established offensive group that can't afford a premier quarterback. I don't think he will last longer than the third round. Isn't going to be a guy like Jordan Love who can sit in the pocket and pretend that blitzes don't exist. But he could be a good second option for a team like the Falcons or even the Colts. Am I a big fan of Beck? No. I think his arm talent is limited, and he can't efficiently move through a pocket with rhythm, ... Click through and read more. Can't move through a pocket with rhythm as he goes through his progressions, but you simply can't ignore that this dude has been a starter for 3 years. Just a less talented Bo Nix, in my opinion. I wasn't expecting that twist. Let's see. You can absolutely ignore that he's played a lot of games. Nobody rated Stetson Bennett. Birdman says, you say that, but Stetson did end up being a 4th rounder. Significantly higher than anyone suspected. I thought he might have gone undrafted. Sometimes NFL teams value them that more than we do on the subreddit. From Birdman. Let's see, Jay Gold, tonight was not a great showing for him. I'd be very surprised if he went in the top, or if he went in the third round. He's not a good creator out of structure, and tonight, even within structure, he was pretty inaccurate. Doesn't have physical tools that you can lean on either. But Keats writes in response, yep, he made the throws when they mattered most for college football. A lot of his tighter window throws and over 15 yards were terrible. That one to Tony where he should have thrown up the seam but led him outside toward the sideline was absolute trash. Horrible, horrible throw. You're going to get some honesty out of Reddit. Why is the OP's response hidden? That's not a good sign. agreed on the athleticism part. They like to vote people down on this place. Not just this subreddit, I mean, in general. This is actually one of the tamer subreddits compared to some of these places. I know we come here to read, not write, because it can get out of control. Let's see. Number one commenter. Zandrick Ellison writes, on that last drive, he made me nervous every time he threw the ball. Miami is a good team, and they're only vulnerable when he throws picks. You get that with Beck. Sometimes he's more accurate than others. The 22 Sinatra writes, I think he's a fringe 7th rounder, undrafted free agent personally. An NFL team wouldn't trust him to attempt to pass over 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. Hard to get a job in the NFL if they don't trust you past 10 yards. Let's see his responses here. Another vote down for the OP. Not that far. Minus 22. If anything, teams will bring him in like the Browns did with Dylan Gabriel. The 22 Sinatra responds, you never know, but I just don't see a world where he's even at the level of guys like Will Howard and Quinn Ewers, who won the 6th and 7th last year. They're trying to discourage me from doing this. He is undoubtedly better than Ewers. Minus 14. The 22 Sinatra, I disagree. I feel like Ewers was just a better player than Beck is, and has better NFL traits. You load a full page to give me one response. Or I disagree. I feel like Ewers is just a better player than Beck is, and has better NFL traits. Much, much better prospect. I have to backspace out of this. Winning veteran QB with no NFL traits. I'm pretty sure you can find dozens of these guys for much cheaper than a day 2 pick. Desmond Ritters are essentially free. Response. Desmond Ritter is absolutely terrible. But I'm not sure I would put him into that, quote, no NFL traits, quote, bucket. I think he just isn't skilled at all. Man. But he doesn't have totally unusable traits. Let's see, from L. Boston. Honestly, it's crazy to see how far Beck fell in the draft. Before last year's season started, Beck was projected as the potential first overall pick in the 2025 draft. Now he might go undrafted. His tape may work out in his favor. Not going to read that. People thought Beck wasn't to blame at Georgia. His wide receivers got blamed for all the drops. At Georgia, and Mike Bobo got blamed for making an outdated scheme that failed to, quote, let Beck cook, end quote. This year, the drop problem at Georgia mysteriously vanished, and Gunnar Stockton has put up better numbers under Bobo's offense with a worse offensive line. While Beck goes to work under arguably the best OC in college football right now and hasn't even passed his season yards or touchdown records he had at Georgia. He's still the same player. We just know more about him now. Big Gino says somewhere early on day 3. OK Sales says I have an undrafted grade on him. This user says he's going to beg the NCAA for another year of eligibility. I think he can do that. So he can keep making more money than he ever could in the NFL. It would be funny if you could do that. It's like that special dispensation, unlimited eligibility. You only get that. 20-year starter, break every NCAA record. Rusty says rounds 5 through 7, and I wouldn't be shocked if he was an undrafted free agent. Financial Rabbit says he sucks. LOL. Why do you all think this is how QBs are scouted? Carson Beck doesn't have a great arm, not very mobile, consistently makes bad decisions. Stiff. Again, you're getting honesty in here, which is why people come to this place. Wimbledon says, I've never seen a man look more like a 4th round pick than this guy. I don't know if that's an insult or the most backhanded of compliments. Happy for him to prove me wrong, but I can't see him ever being more than a decent backup. You're being generous, to be honest. Was that user? Queens Boulevard writes, he's like if J.J. McCarthy was old and had no upside. So personally think undrafted free agent, maybe UFL eventually. Back is a backup QB all the way. Thor Lolita writes, day 3, as in rounds 4 through 7. So Larmus writes, he may have played himself into a day 3 pick. Probably late day 3 or priority undrafted free agent. I didn't watch the game today. He's not good. If he is drafted, then 5th round or later. And I don't know who would take him. He seems to just buckle under pressure. It got him last year and this year. He throws bad picks. What a way to phrase that. Bad picks. The double bad. And not the gunslinger kind where he's just trying to beat the defender. It's the kind like, dude, what are you doing? It's actually a pretty accurate way to put that. Hidden One J continues. About Carson Beck. He has very little athleticism, so he can't fall back on that. He doesn't have an elite arm. He misses reads, and I would take Drew Aller over him all day. Because at least there's some mobility and a rocket arm. Like, I can try to work with that, at least. And Beck doesn't have a trait like that. I mean, he's the right build size you want. But what's that worth if you stink at being a QB? Spider writes, this is his 7th year, but all caps, 7th year at college. He needs to land at a real estate brokerage or something. Working the Senator Blutarski gimmick. 7 years at college. Only Beck's making some serious coin for this. He's earned that nice NIL payday. 5th round, says Corporate Heisman. Great Flight says pretty comfortably a day 3 quarterback for me. The ceiling is a respectable backup. Respectable. He just doesn't have any good physical tools. Very questionable reads, decisions at times. Just don't see how he goes any earlier. King of the Bean says 4th round. Red team go. He will probably play an 8th year of college football for some reason. Magical extra eligibility. Lobby Watson predicts he never plays a regular season snap. This is J-Man Steelers, 3rd, 4th round. With your excitement, not even considering Will Howard. Crying emoji. This could be a possibility. Coco Latte says Rams, 3rd round. Calling your shot right there. It could be. Key and Orange Peel says Dolphins with a third rounder. Very specific. Not the first, not the second, but the third rounder. Hero for the Bureau says please no. I'm on prop AARP. Marshall says I think he's a top 3 QB in this class. Talking about Carson Beck. I could see him going 3 overall. But I know I'm in the minority. I think he showed how good he is at progression reads tonight. He routinely got his 3rd and 4th read, which shows how well practiced he is. I mean, it is his 7th year, but I like experience at the QB position. Miami? No. 5th round is fair for him. Falcons, 2nd round. Falcons have a new GM, or they're going to have a new GM. They got rid of their old one. I don't know what the Falcons are going to do at quarterback. That contract they signed with Kirk Cousins, that whole situation just felt doomed. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Future Dolphin, stop! You see the pushback. Some Dolphins fans don't want that. Colts. 5th round pick, says Buffalo Bills fan. Round 5, maybe, says upset quality. Day 3 picker, UDFA, undrafted free agent. I say this is a Miami fan. Taco Bell Muncher says, I thought Ewers was going to go 4th last year. Man, Beck might go 6th at best? Question mark. Agreed, and I think Ewers better than Beck. The Destin Ronan says 5th, 6th round. undrafted free agent for the Hildebeest. Purple Cape. As a Lions fan, I'd take a 6th or 7th on him and hope he develops into a good backup. Maybe a 5th. Fun developmental project, but nothing more. Shivers and Hendon Hooker. Canadian Football League. Says Agreeable Turnip. There's a place for him in the NFL. He's a day 3 pick. Seems like the type that'll have a long career as a backup. His ceiling is probably Case Keenum. And the right situation, maybe Geno Smith. The response, maybe a Cooper Rush. Case had some good starting years in there. His arm is simply better. Geno can't be put into that group despite the year he had this year. Earlier, went through some of the latest 2026 NFL mock drafts. The link I posted over on DraftKings. I've owned DraftKings.com since 2003. I set this up as a mock draft database. The early response has been tremendous. I had to learn not to be taking a sip of coffee when I do some web searches to see a given day where certain terms show up. Looked up NFL mock draft database. Number 1. This thing had been up 36 hours. Number 1 with a bullet on Bing. And now you look on a different search engine or a different browser or a different IP address, maybe you'll get different results. But it showed up right away. Okay. Again, this is the stuff the AI bots, the LLMs, my consultants. I've got real life consultants, but also the AI, as much as I think that's going to be our downfall as humanity. That aside, it can be very helpful as far as evaluating, seeing things that other people maybe can't see. If you want to check that out, that link over on, just go to DraftKings.com. It's the first link at the top. Of course, my mock is right here. Again, it feels braggadocious, but the consultants insisted on it, so I did it. There are plenty of great mocks in here. These are all no login, no paywall, at least a full first rounder. Some have a second rounder. I think Eddie's is a 2-rounder. I know that, eventually it's going to come to the point where I have to start saying, okay, when the consultant said to cap it at 50 mocks. What happens when there's 80 I want to put in here? I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We'll see. All right, well, this is a fun run here. Went more than 90 minutes with it. So I'll be back again tomorrow. Live on Blaze. Do the simulcast again on Twitch, because there are people that, again, will look for me here, wherever here is. But I definitely want to encourage people to check out Blaze. And nothing negative at all as far as Twitch goes, but Blaze, a new platform, I think a place that's going to, if this can start to resonate and we'll start to build some people over here, because this is a brand new platform, it's going to mean a lot more if I bring over even just a small number of people versus the impact it would have on even Kick or Twitch or YouTube. It's like I'm drowning in an ocean of AI slop on one side and years of people have been doing that stuff on YouTube on the other. Because for a very long time, I was very limited in what I was able to do with my deal with DraftKings. And then that ended 2 years ago. And since then, it's been interesting trying to prove to the search engines and the LLMs that I'm a real person. Like, do you mean Pickney? No. But I listened to the AI chatbots as far as things to do to boost myself as far as establishing my topical authority. And then things really started to take off. So good times with that. One downer with, or maybe I just don't know how to do it. I don't think there's any way to raid out on Blaze or host, any equivalent of that. But again, I'll be back tomorrow after the Indiana versus Oregon game. We'll head back into Reddit. We'll go through some more mock drafts. We'll have fun with that. That's going to do it for this broadcast of Nashville Lou Live. I'm your host, Lou Pickney. Be sure to check out my latest mock draft at mockdraftnfl.com. And get those links, that mock draft database, DraftKings.com. See you tomorrow after the Indiana versus Oregon game. Live on Blaze, simulcast on Twitch. See you then.